This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. An end to the province-wide liquor strike could be on the horizon. A tentative 4-year agreement has been reached between striking liquor workers and their employer, Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries. CBC's Riley Laychuk has the details.
Well, we still don't know what exactly this means for Liquor Mart locations or at the Liquor Distribution Centre, but we can tell you that there is at least a tentative agreement in place now between Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries and the MGEU. If this is ratified by members, it would mean the strike that began back on July 19th over a month ago now will come to an end. That strike action began with walkouts at several locations, lockouts at others, before a full province-wide strike began just over 2 weeks ago now. So we don't have all of the details of this tentative agreement, but the MGEU says it is recommending that members accept this agreement. The union says that the agreement helps all of its MGEU liquor workers. They will vote on this agreement between noon on Thursday and noon on Sunday. Results are expected to be released on Sunday afternoon. In the meantime, the MGEU says picket lines will come down until voting is complete, but we don't know if that means if all stores will reopen or when those stores will reopen. Riley Laychuk, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Some election candidates got a taste today of what it's like to be poor. They took part in an experiment showing what different income levels could get you for lunch. The CBC's Ian Fraze reports.
Thank you.
These politicians came out to get served a meal and a few lessons. Candidates in the upcoming provincial election were treated to a 3-course meal. Their dishes depend on their income levels. One meal is what an MLA could afford, like Arctic char. Another meal for someone on employment assistance, spaghetti with tomato sauce. A different meal for people on disability supports, dal with vegetables. The MLA menu included an appetizer, but not for people on employment assistance or disability support. Instead, they filled out government support applications.
What we tried to show is not only are you getting a less plentiful meal, you're also having to do a bit of work.
Melissa Graham helped organize the event. She's with the Manitoba League of Persons with Disabilities.
We thought it would be a good idea to bring everyone together and have a meal and show some of the differences between not just an MLA salary and someone on social assistance, but also the differences between those categories.
Speakers at the event hoped the politicians learn from what they heard. For example, people on disability get more than those on employment assistance, but not by much.
$1,278 a month. Ridiculous. I don't know how people live on that little bit of money.
Some candidates say they're low income themselves.
I understand because I live it. I live under EIA.
When you're low income, you kind of just eat what you can. You kind of get what you can from your food bank, from your neighbors.
Others say the experience was humbling.
Courses were arriving for me and they had nothing, right? So at one point I in fact tried to pass my salad off to Melissa sitting next to me, and she said, no, that's cheating.
I think this is a very good experiential event which touches your core and makes you want to advocate for more.
Now it's up to the politicians to serve up a platform that helps people struggling to get by. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Manitoba Liberals promised to set up a $300 million per year green fund to protect the environment if they win the provincial election. Leader Dougal Lamont says the money would help create new green jobs and reduce energy costs. It would also help fight climate change through rewilding, restoring ecosystems to their original state.
Restoring natural forests, native grasslands, and wetlands. On the small scale, we'll offer grants for people and organizations to plant trees, gardens, and restore wilderness. So this is something every Manitoban can play a part in. Grants to schools, school divisions, municipalities, First Nations, and farmers for wilderness preservation and expansion.
The Liberals would make money available, as he said, to schools, First Nations and farmers, the goal being to return 30% of Manitoba to its natural state. Wapusk National Park in northern Manitoba is about as natural as you can get. It's Canada's 8th largest national park, yet only a few hundred visitors make it up there every year. CBC's Bartley Kivas was one of the lucky few. He brings us this story from the edge of Hudson Bay.
It takes a helicopter flight from Churchill to reach Wapusk National Park, more than 11,000 square kilometers of low-lying land along Hudson Bay. It protects summer and winter habitat for polar bears, summer calving grounds for caribou, and wetlands that support hundreds of bird species. It's one of Canada's largest parks, but only about 200 people a year get to visit.
This is a special, very fragile landscape, and so it just simply can't support a lot of people.
Ryan Brook is a wildlife ecologist who's spent more than 450 nights of his life in the park, based out of this research compound, Nestor 1.
The wildlife and landscape is amazing, and it's true wilderness, and we're really, really fortunate to be able to be out here because it isn't accessible to everyone, and it's remote and it's quite expensive to get to.
The barrier isn't just the cost. The terrain in Wapusk is difficult. The weather's volatile, and polar bears pose a danger any time of year. So right now I'm about 200 meters from the coast of Hudson Bay, where large male polar bears do spend their time during the summer. The constant presence of these large carnivores is one of the reasons that people aren't allowed to just walk around Wapusk National Park.
I would not come out to anywhere in Churchill or Wapusk without a firearm.
Russell Turner is the ecosystem scientist for Wapusk.
So just about a kilometer in front of us on the shore of Hudson Bay, we have a polar bear who's dug himself a daybed. And he's just resting out on that gravel ridge while we're here servicing this trail camera.
Still, a handful of people do get the chance to visit Wapusk, mostly Parks Canada staff, scientists, and their students.
It is absolutely amazing. I have never thought that I would ever get here. Every single step you take is breathtaking. There's so many things to look at. There's so many things to learn.
There's more than wildlife in the park. These ancient beach ridges, used for millennia by Dene, Cree, and Inuit, used to sit below the surface of Hudson Bay. They're bouncing back from the weight of the glaciers that receded 7,000 years ago. There are rockets littering the tundra, fired from the old rocket range near Churchill, and artifacts left behind from previous generations of scientists.
The Canadian Wildlife Service had a research program there at that tower at Cape Churchill. I don't think it's been used in a long time, but people used to sit up there and watch polar bears. You could see it swaying in the wind.
There are no plans to allow more tourists into the park. The permafrozen landscape is just too fragile.
There are places in and around Churchill that one can access and is open to many people in the public to see wildlife and see landscapes.
The scientists who come here say they know it's a privilege to visit somewhere so remote and so unspoiled. Bartley Kivas, CBC News in Wapusk National Park.
The University of Manitoba is welcoming its largest class of medical students. This amid a doctor's shortage in this province. CBC's Zubina Ahmed has more on the class of 2027.
A time-honored tradition, donning crisp new white coats. 125 future doctors took the physician's pledge. The Max Rady College of Medicine is welcoming its largest class, up from 110 students in past years.
I want you to capture this moment because while being a physician is an incredibly rewarding career, you have also taken a difficult path. And I want you to capture this moment so that whether you remember any of the words any of us said, that you remember how you felt right now.
On top of being the largest, the class of 2027 is also rich with diversity, including 53 students of a visible minority, 2 who identify as non-binary, 59 with rural connections, and 10 who are Indigenous. Celebrating this milestone is 23-year-old Kiana Tate. She's from the Norway House Cree Nation and is eager to make a difference.
My entire education is to give back to my community, whether that's here, but I do plan when I finish medical school to move home to Norway House. That's always been the goal, and right now they're building a new hospital, which is where I plan to work.
Tate says she hasn't seen enough First Nations people in the medical field and decided at a very young age to pursue medicine.
I just knew that I had a role and a responsibility in my family and my community to do something, and I decided that medicine was my chosen path.
22-year-old Jeanette Comte will earn her medical degree in the college's bilingual stream. She grew up on a farm near the Francophone community of Notre-Dame-de-Lourdes.
We know that there is a physician shortage in the rural areas, so I think it will be a great experience.
She wants to return her services as a physician to her hometown. As these future doctors begin 4 years of medical training, they look forward to be able to help heal their communities. Zabina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Part of a church in Elmwood has collapsed after an overnight fire. Emergency responders were called to Tweed Avenue near Watt Street just before 4 this morning. They arrived to heavy smoke and flames. Police say it's not known if anyone was inside the church when the fire started. One firefighter was hurt on the scene. You see the collapse right there. A house next to the church had to be evacuated while they fought the fire. The building is now expected to be a complete loss. Hundreds of people turned out for a powwow at Sioux Valley, Dakota Nation to celebrate with the Stanley Cup. NHL star Zach Whitecloud is from Sioux Valley. He and his team won the championship. He's a Las Vegas Golden Knight, and he brought the trophy to his hometown this afternoon.
White Cloud, he's representing us, all us Indigenous people.
You know, the amount of support and, you know, the family and just everyone that continues to support me from afar, whether it's at home or they're coming to games, whatever it is. And, you know, I'm just always grateful for my support system and the fan base.
Oh, such a proud moment, like to have somebody in our community to win such a huge thing, like a huge award. It's amazing. Like, yeah.
It's really awesome that, like, just someone from Sioux Valley, especially a Dakota native, I'm a Dakota native, he got to hoist the cup.
Wonderful that they had decent weather for that today,
exactly.
Hey? Right now, we've got a couple of watches you're keeping an eye on.
Yeah, you know, a severe thunderstorm watch, and I talked about this potential for severe weather in southwestern Manitoba yesterday. Potential still there. There's actually a tornado warning as well on the Saskatchewan side of the border. That's the red shading that you see. The other shading you see is the severe thunderstorm watch. So let's go directly to radar here and show you the satellite showing us the cloud. The radar is what you see here, the rain moving across Manitoba. So earlier today, Birtle, Russell, Roblin, and Dauphin had a band of rain move through. That is now over the Interlake and the south basin of Lake Winnipeg, and then we had a second band go through Dauphin. But these are the storms that are really kicking up a fuss, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. Had a shower go through the Winnipeg area. Nothing much here, but there is more to the west, and some of this will swing down through the Red River Valley tonight and probably come to us as non-severe storms in the Red River Valley and out to the east. And we look at lightning, we can see there has been some lightning up around Alonza, south of Dauphin through the Gladstone area, and now out into the Interlake. So again, non-severe storms, but the trouble area is right here, and this is where we have the severe thunderstorm watch in effect, and this red shaded area here in southeastern Saskatchewan is tornado warning. So Doppler radar is picking up some rotation underneath this storm, and it's that one that is moving, thankfully, to the southeast, and will probably cross into the U.S. somewhere south of Melita. So we'll certainly keep an eye on radar tonight, but that potential exists through the late evening hours here around Brandon, Verdun, and down through Melita, and some showers in the Winnipeg area as well. And then we start Thursday with some cloud, but there's another impulse of weather that moves in late in the day. Here's a look at 3 in the afternoon. More storms in the west, and then by the time we get to about the supper hour on Thursday, we've got potential for some storm activity here in the northern Red River Valley. And behind that, Friday morning, early, some more showers, but they clear quickly. Anything after that is pretty insignificant. And it's a pretty sunny afternoon on Friday, taking us into some sunshine on the weekend. Now, projected rainfall, the forecast model is really having a tough time with this because it'll look at isolated showers and storms. So you see a wide variance here in some of the numbers, but you get an idea that most of us are in for some sort of rain or showers or thunderstorms as we head into the evening and the next 48 hours. 17 will be your morning number, and then in the afternoon, one of the warmer days this week at 26. Generally a sun-cloud mix, but we'll be looking at radar and tracking those showers and thunderstorms moving through. Off to the north now, where we've got a chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms on Thursday for Flin Flon, the Paw, Norway House, at least a chance of showers in Island Lake. Elsewhere, it starts to brighten up, especially up around Churchill with a sun-cloud mix and a high of 13, 18 tomorrow in Thompson. Here in the south, we've got showers, storms in the afternoon, but later in the day and a little farther to the south as we get into the Red River Valley. Here in Winnipeg, you can see the warm temperatures as well. And then on into northwestern Ontario, it's afternoon or evening showers and thunderstorms. So, Janet, some active weather still with us at this time of year.
Thank you for tracking it for us. Talk to you a little later. More than 100 childcare workers and supporters rallied outside the Manitoba legislature last night. They're urging political parties and voters to make childcare a priority in this fall's provincial election. The Manitoba Childcare Association says more needs to be done to support and retain early childcare educators to provide quality childcare to all. Chris Mateo, who works in childcare, says it's difficult to live on the pay.
It's hard to put food on the table. It's hard to put, keep our bills paid, our rent paid on just that. I work 2 jobs and I'm barely making ends meet. So it's kind of a travesty that we have to work this hard for something that everybody needs.
The Child Care Association wants Manitobans to get to know each party's platform on childcare and make informed choices at the polls. Election Day is October 3rd. Coming up, rain. It's helped improve conditions in BC's interior, where wildfires forced thousands of people from their homes. Some may be able to return soon, but others still don't know if they have a home to go back to. We'll bring you the latest after the break. As the wildfire emergency eases in British Columbia, the provincial government is taking heat over the way the crisis is being handled. Across the province, 27,000 people remain out of their homes. Premier David Eby was confronted by angry residents when he toured some of the fire-scorched areas yesterday. They complained about the enforcement of evacuation orders and a lack of support from the province. Eby spoke with CBC News earlier today. He said he thinks the province should consider moving away from the use of volunteers and set up a full-time emergency response team.
I heard from local leaders how they are suggesting, and I think it's a good suggestion, that we have a year-round emergency response team able to respond even faster and able to take those surges that we saw with this fire.
Rains overnight helped firefighters around Okanagan Lake. A number of evacuation orders and travel restrictions have been lifted in the southern interior. Some people are being allowed to go home, but there are still a number of areas that are off limits. Early reports show 200 structures, including homes, have been damaged or destroyed. The federal cabinet retreat in Charlottetown has wrapped up. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his inner circle were discussing housing policy and politics. Trudeau appears to be feeling pressure from Conservative claims that the Liberals are responsible for the current housing situation.
Mr. Poilievre has decided, let's make them even angrier. Let's give them a scapegoat. Let's point fingers and lay blame, because that's easy, and it is. That's not my approach.
Trudeau says he recognizes Canadians are generally anxious and worried. He says he's focused on solutions to the housing crunch. But opposition message blaming the Liberals seems to be resonating. A new Leger poll suggests 40% of respondents think Ottawa is to blame for the housing crisis. 95% say rising rents and a lack of affordable homes are serious problems. A plane crashed after leaving Moscow today, and Russian authorities are saying Yevgeny Prigozhin was on board. It's still not clear if he actually was on the plane. Prigozhin is the founder of the Wagner Group, a private army that mutinied against Russia's military leadership in June. Amateur video shows what appears to be the plane crash. The Russian state news agency says all 10 people on board were killed and that 8 bodies have been found. Russian President Vladimir Putin appeared to let Prigozhin off easy in June after the revolt he orchestrated seemed to fizzle. Commentators call that uprising the most serious challenge to Putin's leadership since he first became president. India made history today by landing a spacecraft on the south pole of the moon. It's the first country to ever do that, a triumph for its space program as the craft touched down. The south pole of the moon is uncharted territory. A rover is now scheduled to explore the area. Scientists believe the south pole could hold reserves of frozen water, vital to supporting a future moon settlement. Still to come, meteorologist John Sauter and his 7-day forecast. Plus, we'll bring you your daily lift. Stay with us.
Well, here's a look at the latest radar and lightning. We have some lightning strikes in the internet, also just along Highway 1 west of Portage-la Prairie, but the bigger storms are on the Saskatchewan side of the border. We still have a tornado warning just to the west of the Manitoba border. That storm is moving to the southeast. More of this possible later in the day tomorrow, more like afternoon for the west, and then some sunshine by Friday afternoon and Saturday. Warming up to 24 again on Saturday. A cool day with showers on Sunday and warmer by Tuesday and Wednesday next week. It has been a summer, a very busy summer for firefighters across our country. One firefighter was so dedicated to his job, he was willing to miss a very important appointment.
His own citizenship ceremony. But when there's a will, there's a way, and that's tonight's Daily Lift. This is Walter Roos. He's a firefighter who's been on the front line in BC's Okanagan Valley. He's originally from the Netherlands and was supposed to attend a citizenship ceremony from his home near Chilliwack to officially become a Canadian. But he was busy battling those devastating wildfires in the region. So Roos found a way to take the oath of citizenship while he was on the job.
It was definitely a little bit different. I ended up talking in the morning to our task force leader and say that I had to do this at 9:30 if he could work with me on this. So he gave me a location that was as close to the city as possible so that we'd have cell service. And then I set up the laptop, or the iPad, sorry, and started the process there on Zoom. It was awkward, but it was interesting at the same time. So we had Zoom set up on the iPad and did the whole work just sitting in my work gear.
So there he is, welcomed in as a new Canadian from the backseat of an emergency vehicle. That's commitment, John Sauter.
Yeah, that is commitment. I'm glad he's a Canadian now, officially.
Yeah, officially. Congratulations and well done fighting those fires. Good night, everybody.
Good night.